AudioBooksTube is glad to produce, publish, and offer. Holy Grail, Master and Apply the Greatest Mystery. By Sage D. Esotreasure. Hi. Before we delve in the book, if you enjoy listening to our content, we'd love your support. Most of you watch and listen, but many haven't hit that subscribe button yet. If everyone who enjoys our audiobooks subscribed, we could grow this channel and create even better content just for you. So go ahead, click that subscribe button and join our community. Together, we can make this channel thrive. And now, back to the narration. Chapter 1: The Mystery of the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is one of the most enduring symbols in Western culture, woven into the fabric of mythology, religion, and literary tradition. Its mystique has captivated generations, with its meaning evolving over time to represent a quest for spiritual enlightenment, truth, and moral purity. But what exactly is the Holy Grail? Is it a physical object, a symbol of divine grace, or something more abstract that speaks to the human experience of seeking fulfillment? This chapter explores the origins of the Holy Grail, how it has been portrayed in literature and religious contexts, and why this symbol continues to hold significance today. Origins of the Holy Grail. The first references to the Holy Grail can be traced back to medieval European literature, specifically within the corpus of Arthurian legend. The Grail is introduced as a miraculous vessel, often described as a chalice or a cup that holds sacred power. One of the earliest mentions of the Grail comes from Chrétien de Troyes Perceval, the story of the Grail, written in the late 12th century. In this text, the Grail appears during a mystical scene where Perceval, the protagonist, witnesses a procession that includes a radiant, mysterious object identified as the Grail. However, Chrétien's work leaves the Grail's purpose and meaning deliberately ambiguous, sparking centuries of speculation and reinterpretation. Over time, other writers expanded on Chrétien's tale, elaborating on the nature of the Grail and its significance. One such elaboration came from Robert de Boron, a French poet, who wrote Joseph d'Arimathie in the early 13th century. In this version, the Holy Grail takes on a more explicitly Christian identity. According to de Boron, the Grail is the chalice used by Jesus Christ during the Last Supper and was later used to collect Christ's blood during the crucifixion by Joseph of Arimathea. This association with the Passion of Christ cemented the Grail's religious significance and linked it to Christian themes of sacrifice, redemption, and eternal life. As the legend grew, the Grail became more than just a sacred Christian artifact. It became the focal point of the Arthurian knight's quest, particularly that of Sir Galahad, who was portrayed as the epitome of chivalric purity and spiritual perfection. For Galahad, and for others in the Grail stories, the quest to find the Grail was not just about obtaining a physical object, but about achieving a higher state of being, of becoming worthy of divine grace. The Grail in myth and religion. The Holy Grail's roots may be found in Christian traditions, but its symbolism extends beyond the bounds of Christianity. Scholars and mythologists have identified parallels between the Grail and older mythological themes, such as the ancient Celtic cauldron of plenty, which provided endless nourishment. In many ways, the Grail represents a confluence of mythological motifs, a vessel of power and life, a symbol of spiritual renewal, and a divine gift that can heal and transform. In medieval Christian Europe, the Grail was deeply intertwined with the religious concepts of salvation and the Eucharist. The Grail's association with the Last Supper and Christ's blood reflects the theological idea of Christ as a source of divine nourishment for the soul. Just as the chalice of the Eucharist symbolizes the body and blood of Christ, which offers eternal life to believers, the Grail in literature came to represent the promise of salvation and the pursuit of a closer union with God. However, the Grail is not confined to Christianity alone. Some scholars argue that it can also be interpreted as a universal symbol of the quest for divine knowledge, an archetypal journey that transcends any one religious tradition. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, viewed the Grail as a potent symbol in the human psyche, representing the individuation process, the integration of the conscious and unconscious mind toward achieving wholeness. In Jungian terms, the Grail is the elusive goal that embodies personal transformation and the fulfillment of one's spiritual potential. From sacred object to spiritual ideal. As the Grail stories evolved, so too did its meaning. Initially described as a tangible object, a chalice, cup, or platter, the Grail became increasingly abstract in later retellings. It was no longer just a physical vessel, it became a metaphor for spiritual ideals and moral virtues. The search for the Grail was, in essence, the search for truth, purity, and enlightenment. In Sir Thomas Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, written in the 15th century, the Grail quest takes on a deeply spiritual dimension. Only the purest of heart, the most devout and virtuous, could hope to glimpse the Grail. Sir Galahad's successful quest stands in contrast to the failures of others, such as Sir Lancelot, whose moral shortcomings prevent him from fully attaining the Grail. This version of the Grail story highlights the idea that the Grail is not merely an object to be found, but a symbol of divine grace that must be earned through inner transformation and moral integrity. The Grail became a reflection of the values and aspirations of the time, chivalric honor, Christian piety, and the pursuit of spiritual perfection. Knights of the Round Table who sought the Grail were not merely adventurers, they were pilgrims on a sacred journey, seeking to transcend the physical world and connect with the divine. This notion of the Grail as a spiritual ideal has continued to resonate through centuries, inspiring new interpretations in art, literature, and philosophy. The Grail in modern times. Today, the Holy Grail continues to capture the imagination, though its meaning has shifted in response to contemporary values and concerns. While the religious and mythological aspects of the Grail remain significant, modern interpretations often emphasize its role as a symbol of personal enlightenment, self-discovery, and the search for higher meaning in life. In many ways, the Grail speaks to the universal human desire for fulfillment, whether that fulfillment is framed in religious, spiritual, or psychological terms. In literature, film, and popular culture, the Grail is frequently used as a symbol for an ultimate goal that is difficult to attain, yet profoundly transformative once achieved. For example, in the realm of psychological interpretation, the Grail can represent an individual's search for purpose, identity, or truth, an internal journey towards self-actualization and wholeness. In psychological and philosophical contexts, the Grail quest symbolizes the inner struggles and challenges that people face as they work toward personal growth, spiritual development, and a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. The Holy Grail's enduring presence in both religious and secular contexts suggests that it will continue to be a powerful symbol for generations to come. Whether viewed as a literal object, a metaphor for spiritual ideals, or an archetype of the human quest for fulfillment, the Grail remains a potent reminder of the values and aspirations that define our lives. Chapter 2: The Holy Grail as a Symbol of Transformation. The Holy Grail, beyond its mythic and religious roots, holds deep symbolic significance as a metaphor for spiritual transformation and personal growth. Over centuries, the Grail has come to represent the human desire to transcend ordinary life and achieve a higher state of existence, one characterized by enlightenment, wisdom, and self-actualization. This chapter explores how the Grail symbolizes transformation, delving into psychological, spiritual, and personal interpretations. By examining the Grail as a transformative symbol, we can uncover how its meaning can be applied to our lives in the modern world, guiding us toward inner fulfillment. The Grail as a symbol of inner transformation. At its core, the Holy Grail represents the pursuit of something beyond the material world, a higher state of being or consciousness. In this sense, the Grail is not just an external object to be sought after but a symbol of the internal transformation that takes place within the seeker. The Grail quest reflects the journey of the soul toward enlightenment, a process of self-discovery and purification. In medieval Grail stories, knights such as Sir Galahad and Sir Perceval embark on a quest for the Grail, seeking not only the physical object but also spiritual redemption and grace. Their journeys are filled with challenges, trials, and temptations, all of which serve as tests of their moral and spiritual worthiness. These challenges symbolize the inner battles that every individual must face in their pursuit of personal growth, battles with doubt, fear, ego, and temptation. The Grail, therefore, serves as a metaphor for the process of transformation itself. Just as the knights undergo trials to become worthy of the Grail, individuals on a personal or spiritual journey must confront their own weaknesses and limitations to achieve a higher state of being. This process requires introspection, perseverance, and the willingness to change. It is through this transformation that the seeker becomes worthy of attaining the Grail, which in turn represents wisdom, enlightenment, and divine grace. The psychological interpretation of the Grail quest. The Holy Grail can also be understood from a psychological perspective, particularly through the lens of Carl Jung's theory of individuation. Jung saw the Grail as an archetypal symbol that represents the process of integrating different aspects of the self, the conscious and the unconscious, into a harmonious whole. In Jungian psychology, this process of individuation is essential for personal growth and self-realization. The Grail quest, in this context, symbolizes the journey of the individual towards psychological wholeness. Each challenge or obstacle faced by the knights in the Grail legends can be seen as a representation of the inner struggles individuals encounter as they strive to reconcile conflicting aspects of their personalities. For example, the trials that test the knight's patience, humility, or courage mirror the personal challenges we face in overcoming traits like pride, fear, or insecurity. In this sense, the Grail represents the true self, the fully realized version of an individual who has integrated all aspects of their personality and achieved inner balance. The journey to the Grail, then, is not about seeking something external but about finding and understanding one's own inner truth. This psychological interpretation of the Grail quest highlights its relevance to modern individuals who seek to understand themselves better and achieve personal growth. The spiritual significance of the Grail. On a deeper spiritual level, the Holy Grail can be seen as a symbol of divine wisdom and enlightenment. In Christian interpretations, the Grail is often associated with the chalice used by Christ at the Last Supper and later used to collect his blood during the crucifixion. As such, the Grail represents the possibility of communion with the divine and the reception of spiritual grace. However, the Grail's symbolism extends beyond Christianity. In many spiritual traditions, the quest for enlightenment involves a journey of transformation, where the seeker must shed ego, embrace humility, and open themselves to a higher power or consciousness. In this sense, the Grail represents the ultimate goal of spiritual seekers, the attainment of divine knowledge or union with a higher state of being. For many, the Grail symbolizes the idea of divine completion, the notion that true spiritual fulfillment comes not from external accomplishments or material success but from inner peace, wisdom, and connection to the divine. The quest for the Grail, then, is symbolic of the soul's journey to transcend the limitations of the physical world and achieve a deeper, more meaningful connection with the spiritual realm. The role of challenges in personal transformation. An essential element of the Grail quest is the presence of challenges and trials that test the resolve of those seeking the Grail. In the legends, knights face numerous obstacles, both external and internal, that challenge their moral character, faith, and determination. These obstacles are not just barriers to the goal but crucial elements of the transformation process. In the context of personal growth, these challenges represent the difficulties and setbacks that individuals face on their own journeys towards self-improvement and spiritual enlightenment. Whether it is overcoming personal fears, dealing with failure, or confronting uncomfortable truths about oneself, these challenges are integral to the process of transformation. Just as the knights cannot attain the Grail without first proving their worth through trials, individuals cannot achieve true personal or spiritual transformation without facing their own trials. It is through these struggles that growth occurs, and it is often through the most difficult challenges that the greatest transformations happen. The Grail quest teaches us that transformation is not a passive process. It requires active engagement with life's difficulties. Rather than avoiding challenges, individuals must embrace them as opportunities for growth. By doing so, they move closer to the Grail, or the ultimate goal of personal fulfillment and enlightenment. Applying the Grail's symbolism to modern life. The symbolism of the Holy Grail as a tool for transformation is not confined to the realm of myth or spirituality. It can be applied directly to modern life as a framework for understanding personal challenges and growth. In today's fast-paced and materialistic world, the Grail reminds us that the most important quests are not those for wealth or status, but for inner peace, wisdom, and personal fulfillment. One way to apply the Grail's symbolism is through the practice of mindfulness and self-reflection. Just as the knights in the legends must constantly evaluate their motives and actions, individuals today can use reflection to assess their own lives. Are they living in alignment with their values? Are they making progress on their personal or spiritual goals? By asking these questions, individuals can stay focused on their own Grail quest and ensure they are moving in the right direction. Another important lesson from the Grail is the idea that transformation requires both patience and perseverance. The knights do not find the Grail easily or quickly. It is a long and arduous process. Similarly, personal growth and transformation take time. There will be setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt, but the Grail reminds us that these are all part of the journey. It is through perseverance that individuals ultimately achieve the transformation they seek. Finally, the Grail's association with purity and virtue suggests that transformation is not just about achieving personal goals, but about becoming a better, more ethical person. In today's world, where competition and success are often prioritized, the Grail reminds us that true fulfillment comes not from external achievements but from living a life of integrity, compassion, and service to others. The Grail is a timeless guide to transformation. The Holy Grail's enduring significance lies in its power to symbolize the process of transformation. Whether viewed through the lens of psychology, spirituality, or personal development, the Grail represents the journey toward a higher state of being, one characterized by wisdom, enlightenment, and inner fulfillment. Its timeless lessons remind us that true transformation requires patience, perseverance, and a commitment to personal and moral growth. By applying the symbolism of the Grail to our own lives, we can better navigate the challenges of personal development and stay focused on what truly matters: the quest for inner peace, wisdom, and a deeper connection to the divine. The Grail may be a mythical object, but its message is profoundly relevant to our modern lives, offering a blueprint for personal transformation and spiritual fulfillment. Chapter 3: Interpreting the Grail in Daily Life. The Holy Grail, often depicted as an elusive symbol of spiritual transcendence, also holds immense practical value when interpreted through the lens of daily life. Beyond being a mythic or religious object, The Grail embodies principles of truth, compassion, purity, and purpose. When these core ideas are integrated into our everyday actions, the Grail's message can guide us toward more meaningful and fulfilling lives. This chapter explores how the symbolism of the Grail can be applied to day-to-day experiences, offering a roadmap for personal growth, ethical living, and emotional well-being. The Grail as a symbol of truth and integrity. One of the Grail's most prominent meanings is its representation of truth and moral integrity. In many of the Grail legends, the knights are tested not only in their strength or skill but in their ability to live according to truth, remaining honest with themselves and others. This pursuit of truth is not merely about avoiding falsehood, but about living authentically and aligning one's actions with a deeper moral compass. In daily life, the pursuit of truth can be translated into personal integrity, acting in alignment with one's values even when it is difficult. Practicing integrity means being honest in communication, staying true to commitments, and behaving in ways that reflect inner beliefs and principles. This approach to life builds trust, strengthens relationships, and fosters a sense of self-respect. For example, in the workplace, integrity might involve taking responsibility for mistakes rather than deflecting blame. In relationships, it means being truthful with loved ones, even when difficult conversations are necessary. By embodying truth in daily life, we essentially live our own Grail quest, striving for higher ideals that improve both ourselves and the world around us. Compassion as a Grail ideal. Another key lesson from the Grail stories is the importance of compassion and service to others. In many versions of the Grail myth, the knights who are closest to attaining the Grail are those who act selflessly, often showing kindness and mercy to those in need. For instance, Sir Galahad, the purest of the knights, is driven not by personal glory but by his commitment to serving others and his willingness to sacrifice for a higher cause. In modern life, the principle of compassion can be practiced in a variety of ways, both large and small. Acts of kindness, generosity, and empathy are ways of living out the Grail's message. This could involve helping a colleague at work who is struggling, listening attentively to a friend in need, or volunteering time and resources to causes that benefit the community. Compassion also involves understanding the struggles of others and being patient and forgiving when people make mistakes. In a world that often prioritizes competition and individual achievement, the Grail reminds us of the value of supporting one another and contributing to the collective well-being. These daily acts of compassion not only help others but also nourish the spirit, bringing a sense of fulfillment and connection that is at the heart of the Grail quest. Practicing mindfulness and self-reflection. The quest for the Grail also symbolizes the search for inner clarity and understanding. The knights, on their journey, are often faced with challenges that require them to reflect deeply on their motives, desires, and actions. This reflective process is essential to their spiritual growth and eventual success in the quest. In our everyday lives, this aspect of the Grail quest can be applied through mindfulness and self-reflection. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment, paying attention to thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without judgment. By practicing mindfulness, we become more aware of our actions and the reasons behind them, allowing us to live more intentionally and align our daily choices with our larger goals. Self-reflection is closely related, involving regular introspection to evaluate how we are living and whether we are staying true to our values. This could mean taking time each day or week to assess whether our actions reflect our deeper aspirations or whether we are being swayed by distractions, ego, or fear. Through self-reflection, we can identify areas where we need to grow or change and make adjustments that keep us on the right path. For example, if we find ourselves becoming frustrated or reactive in stressful situations, mindfulness can help us pause and consider why we are reacting this way. Through self-reflection, we can then work on addressing the underlying issues, whether it's stress, insecurity, or something else, and take steps to improve. In this way, the Grail's message of inner clarity becomes a practical tool for navigating life's challenges with greater awareness and purpose. Setting and pursuing meaningful goals. The Grail quest is not only a journey of spiritual growth, but also one of purpose. The Knight's dedication to finding the Grail is driven by a sense of higher purpose, a goal that transcends personal ambition and connects them to something greater than themselves. In our lives, setting meaningful goals can help us stay focused on what truly matters, guiding our actions and giving us a sense of direction. However, setting goals aligned with the Grail's ideals means going beyond material success or superficial achievements. Instead, it involves pursuing goals that resonate with our deeper values and contribute to our personal growth and the well-being of others. These goals might relate to career aspirations, personal relationships, health, or spiritual development, but what unites them is their focus on fostering purpose and meaning. For example, someone might set a goal of improving their health not just to look a certain way, but to feel more energetic and present in their daily life. Another person might pursue a career change not simply for higher pay, but to find work that aligns more closely with their values and passions. By focusing on meaningful goals, we ensure that our efforts contribute to a fulfilling life, echoing the Grail's message of purpose-driven action. Overcoming obstacles with resilience. One of the central themes of the Grail legends is the presence of obstacles and challenges that test the Knight's resolve and faith. The path to the Grail is fraught with difficulties, temptations, and moments of doubt. However, those who persist, learn from their failures, and maintain their commitment ultimately achieve the Grail. In daily life, we too face numerous obstacles, both external and internal, that can prevent us from living fully and authentically. These might include career setbacks, personal hardships, relationship difficulties, or internal struggles like self-doubt, fear, or anxiety. The Grail's message teaches us that these challenges are not roadblocks but essential parts of the journey. Resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and continue moving forward, is a key quality that the Grail quest encourages us to cultivate. Rather than being discouraged by failures or difficulties, we can view them as opportunities for growth and learning. Each obstacle we face can teach us valuable lessons, helping us refine our approach and strengthen our resolve. For instance, a failed project at work might feel like a significant setback, but by reflecting on what went wrong and applying those lessons to future efforts, we grow stronger and more capable. Similarly, a challenging relationship may teach us patience, empathy, or communication skills that help us in all aspects of life. In this way, the Grail's message of perseverance becomes a practical tool for navigating life's inevitable challenges. Finding fulfillment through service. One of the final, and perhaps most important, lessons of the Grail is that true fulfillment comes not from personal success or material gain but from service to others and the world. In the legends, the knights who attain the Grail often do so because of their willingness to put the needs of others before their own and their commitment to living in accordance with higher principles. In daily life, this principle can be applied by focusing on how we can contribute to the well-being of others, whether through acts of kindness, volunteering, or simply being present and supportive in our relationships. By shifting our focus from self-centered goals to the greater good, we tap into a deeper sense of fulfillment and purpose. For example, someone might volunteer their time to help a community in need, mentor a younger colleague, or simply offer emotional support to a friend going through a tough time. These acts of service, though seemingly small, create a ripple effect that not only helps others but also enriches our own lives by connecting us to something larger than ourselves. Living the Grail's message. The Holy Grail, with all its symbolic power, offers profound lessons that can guide our daily lives. By living with integrity, practicing compassion, cultivating mindfulness, setting meaningful goals, and approaching challenges with resilience, we can embody the Grail's ideals in everything we do. In the end, the Grail is not an object to be found, but a way of living, one that brings fulfillment, purpose, and a deeper connection to both ourselves and the world around us. Chapter 4: The Grail and the Hero's Journey. The quest for the Holy Grail is one of the most iconic representations of the hero's journey, a universal narrative pattern that appears across myths, legends, and stories from many different cultures. This journey reflects the stages of personal and spiritual growth, mirroring the challenges and triumphs that all people face in their quest for meaning, purpose, and self-actualization. In this chapter, we will explore how the Grail story fits into the broader framework of the hero's journey, breaking down its stages and understanding how these steps apply to our everyday lives. By interpreting the Grail quest through this lens, we can gain insights into how to navigate our own challenges and grow from them. Understanding the hero's journey. The hero's journey is a narrative template identified by mythologist Joseph Campbell in his book The Hero with 1,000 Faces. Campbell noted that many myths and stories, from ancient times to modern narratives, follow a similar structure in which the hero undergoes a transformative experience. The hero's journey typically includes 3 key phases: departure, initiation, and return. Within these phases, there are specific stages that guide the hero through a process of growth and self-discovery. The Grail quest is a classic example of the hero's journey. In this story, the Knights of the Round Table, particularly figures like Sir Galahad and Sir Perceval, embark on a journey to find the Holy Grail. Their quest requires them to leave the familiar world, face numerous challenges, and undergo inner transformations. By the end of the journey, the successful knights attain the Grail, not just as an object, but as a symbol of spiritual enlightenment and divine grace. This structure reflects the essential elements of the hero's journey, offering a template for understanding personal transformation. Stage 1: The Call to Adventure. In the first stage of the hero's journey, the hero receives a call to adventure, an invitation to leave behind the ordinary world and embark on a quest. In the Grail legend, this call comes when the knights learn of the Grail's existence and feel compelled to seek it out. The Grail represents the promise of divine wisdom, spiritual fulfillment, and a connection with the divine. In our daily lives, the call to adventure can take many forms. It might come as a challenge, a change in circumstances, or an internal urge to pursue a higher purpose. The call often requires us to step out of our comfort zones and confront uncertainty. It could be as simple as feeling dissatisfied with a current career and deciding to pursue something more meaningful, or as profound as a personal crisis that pushes us to reconsider our values and life direction. The key lesson of this stage is that the call to adventure is an opportunity for growth. It challenges us to step beyond what we know and embrace the unknown, opening the door to new possibilities. However, like many heroes in myth, we might initially resist this call, held back by fear, doubt, or a desire to remain in the safety of the familiar. Stage 2: Crossing the Threshold. Once the hero accepts the call to adventure, they must cross the threshold into the unknown world. This marks the point where the hero leaves behind the familiar and enters a new realm filled with challenges, uncertainty, and growth opportunities. In the Grail stories, this occurs when the knights leave Camelot, the symbol of order and civilization, and venture into uncharted lands in search of the Grail. For us, crossing the threshold might mean making a significant life change, such as starting a new job, moving to a new place, or committing to a major personal goal. It is the moment when we take decisive action toward our quest, knowing that there will be challenges ahead but accepting that these are necessary for growth. This stage often involves a leap of faith, as the path forward is not entirely clear, and the hero must rely on inner strength, intuition, and determination. Crossing the threshold can be both exhilarating and daunting. It marks the beginning of the true journey, where comfort is left behind, and the individual must adapt to new circumstances, challenges, and trials. It is a point of no return, and in this step, the hero starts the transformative process that will lead them toward a new understanding of themselves and their purpose. Stage 3: Trials and Challenges. As the hero ventures further into the unknown, they are met with trials and challenges designed to test their resolve, strength, and character. In the Grail stories, the knights face numerous obstacles, dangerous foes, moral dilemmas, and inner temptations. These trials are essential, as they force the hero to confront weaknesses, doubts, and fears, and to grow stronger through the process. In the context of personal growth, these trials represent the challenges we face in our own lives. These might include setbacks at work, difficulties in relationships, or personal struggles such as fear, anxiety, or self-doubt. The key lesson of this stage is that challenges are not merely obstacles to be overcome but essential parts of the transformative process. Each trial teaches the hero something valuable, whether it's patience, resilience, humility, or courage. The trials of the hero's journey remind us that growth and transformation are not easy. We often face adversity on the path to achieving our goals, and these difficulties are necessary to help us become stronger and more capable. In our daily lives, recognizing challenges as opportunities for growth can help us approach them with a more positive and constructive mindset, knowing that they are essential parts of our personal journey. Stage 4: The Abyss or Ordeal. The hero's journey often reaches a point of crisis or abyss, where the hero faces their greatest challenge or fear. This stage represents a metaphorical death and rebirth, as the hero must confront their darkest fears, doubts, or limitations in order to continue. In the Grail quest, this could be represented by moments of intense temptation, self-doubt, or failure, tests that reveal the hero's true character. In our lives, the abyss might represent moments of deep struggle, where we feel overwhelmed by circumstances or face significant personal or professional crises. These are often turning points, where we are forced to confront our deepest fears and limitations. It might be the loss of a job, the end of a significant relationship, or a health crisis, moments that push us to the edge and require us to find new strength within ourselves. The abyss is a crucial part of the transformation process. It strips away illusions, ego, and false beliefs, forcing the hero to confront the truth of who they are. It is only through this confrontation that the hero can emerge transformed, having faced their fears and come out stronger on the other side. In daily life, overcoming such ordeals brings a deeper sense of self-awareness and resilience, preparing us for greater challenges and growth in the future. Stage 5: The Reward or Transformation. After surviving the ordeal, the hero is rewarded with a gift or revelation that symbolizes their transformation. In the Grail legends, this reward is the sight or possession of the Grail itself, representing divine wisdom, spiritual enlightenment, and grace. For the knights, the Grail is not just an object, but a symbol of their inner purification and readiness to receive divine truth. In our personal journeys, the reward comes in the form of insight, wisdom, or a deeper understanding of ourselves and our purpose. It might manifest as achieving a significant goal, resolving a personal conflict, or gaining clarity about our life direction. More importantly, the reward is the internal transformation, the sense of personal growth and inner peace that comes from overcoming trials and learning from them. This stage reminds us that the challenges we face lead to valuable rewards, both tangible and intangible. The journey transforms us, and the rewards we receive, whether they are accomplishments, insights, or a greater sense of self, are reflections of that growth. The Grail's message is that true rewards come from within and are the result of inner transformation and perseverance. If you're enjoying this audiobook and finding value in the content, we kindly ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel. A large portion of our listeners and viewers haven't subscribed yet, and by doing so, you'll help us grow and continue bringing you more high-quality audiobooks. Your support means a lot to us, and it's just one click away. So, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to stay connected and never miss out on our latest releases. Stage 6, The Return with the Elixir. In the final stage of the hero's journey, the hero returns to the ordinary world, bringing with them the elixir or gift of transformation. In the Grail legends, the knights who attain the Grail return to share their wisdom and spiritual enlightenment with others, contributing to the greater good. This stage represents the hero's reintegration into society, using their newfound knowledge to make the world a better place. For us, the return with the elixir means applying the lessons we've learned from our personal growth to improve our daily lives and the lives of those around us. Whether it's sharing insights, helping others overcome similar challenges, or simply living with greater purpose and integrity, this stage is about using the fruits of our journey to contribute to the broader community. This final step of the hero's journey emphasizes that personal transformation is not just for the individual's benefit, but for the collective good. By sharing what we have learned and supporting others on their journeys, we complete the cycle of transformation, making our personal growth meaningful not only for ourselves but for the world. The Grail as a personal hero's journey. The Holy Grail is not just an object of myth, but a powerful symbol of the hero's journey, a journey that each of us undertakes in our own lives. Whether we are seeking spiritual enlightenment, personal growth, or deeper fulfillment, the stages of the hero's journey offer a roadmap for navigating life's challenges and transforming through them. The Grail quest teaches us that every challenge, trial, and ordeal is an opportunity for growth, and that the true reward of the journey is the inner transformation that occurs along the way. Chapter 5, The Search for Meaning, Aligning Values with the Grail. The Holy Grail, in its many interpretations, represents a deep, often elusive, quest for meaning. Whether depicted as a symbol of divine grace, spiritual enlightenment, or inner peace, the Grail embodies the ultimate human aspiration to find purpose and fulfillment in life. In a world that frequently prioritizes material success and external achievements, the Grail serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of aligning our values with a deeper sense of meaning. This chapter explores how the quest for the Grail can inspire us to live a more purposeful life, examining ways to balance material and spiritual goals and apply the lessons of the Grail to our personal search for meaning. The modern search for meaning. In today's fast-paced, achievement-oriented society, many people struggle to find a sense of purpose. the pursuit of wealth, status, and external success often takes precedence, leaving individuals feeling unfulfilled or disconnected from their deeper values. While achieving material goals can bring temporary satisfaction, it does not necessarily lead to long-term happiness or inner peace. The Grail quest, however, teaches us that true fulfillment comes from seeking something greater, something beyond material wealth or surface-level accomplishments. The knights who pursue the Grail in Arthurian legends are not motivated by personal gain or fame, but by a deep desire for spiritual enlightenment and connection with the divine. Their journey is one of inner transformation, where the goal is not to accumulate riches or power but to find deeper truths about themselves and their place in the world. In the same way, the search for meaning in modern life requires us to look beyond the superficial and focus on what truly matters to us as individuals. For many people, this means examining their core values and aligning their actions with those values. Values-driven living involves making choices that reflect what is most important, whether that's integrity, compassion, creativity, or personal growth. The Grail quest challenges us to define our own Grail, the values and ideals that will guide us toward a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Aligning goals with deeper values. One of the key lessons of the Grail quest is that the goals we pursue should be aligned with our deeper values. The knights who seek the Grail do so because they believe in the higher ideals that it represents: truth, purity, and spiritual grace. In our own lives, it is essential to ensure that the goals we set are in harmony with the values we hold dear. Too often, people set goals based on societal expectations or external pressures without considering whether those goals truly reflect their inner desires and values. For example, someone might pursue a career because it promises financial success or social status, but if it doesn't align with their values, such as creativity, helping others, or personal growth, they may end up feeling unsatisfied despite achieving material success. The Grail quest reminds us to reflect on the goals we set and ask ourselves whether they align with our deeper purpose. What motivates us? Are we pursuing something because it resonates with our core values, or are we following a path that others have laid out for us? Taking the time to answer these questions can help us set more meaningful goals that contribute to our personal fulfillment. For example, if one of your core values is creativity, setting a goal that allows you to express that creativity, whether through art, writing, or innovation in your career, will bring you closer to personal satisfaction. Similarly, if you value helping others, pursuing goals that enable you to make a positive impact on people's lives will align with your deeper sense of purpose. Balancing material and spiritual aspirations. The Grail story teaches us that material success and spiritual fulfillment are not necessarily in conflict, but they must be balanced. In the legend, some knights fail to achieve the Grail because they are overly focused on personal glory, material rewards, or earthly desires. These distractions prevent them from reaching the spiritual purity required to find the Grail. In modern life, the balance between material and spiritual goals is a constant struggle. We live in a world where material success is often equated with happiness, but the Grail's message reminds us that true fulfillment comes from a deeper connection to our inner values and spiritual well-being. This doesn't mean that material aspirations are wrong, but rather that they must be pursued in harmony with our spiritual or personal growth. Balancing these two aspects of life means being mindful of how we allocate our time, energy, and resources. For instance, while achieving professional success or financial stability is important, it shouldn't come at the expense of personal well-being, relationships, or spiritual growth. When we become too focused on material pursuits, we risk losing sight of what truly matters to us at a deeper level. The Grail quest encourages us to make time for reflection, personal growth, and spiritual practices, even as we work toward our material goals. Whether through meditation, mindfulness, or simply spending time with loved ones, these practices help us stay connected to our values and ensure that we are not sacrificing our inner fulfillment in the pursuit of external success. The role of service and contribution. One of the most profound lessons of the Grail is that true fulfillment comes not from self-centered pursuits, but from service to others. In many versions of the Grail story, the knights who come closest to attaining the Grail are those who demonstrate compassion, humility, and a commitment to helping others. Sir Galahad, for example, is not motivated by personal gain but by his desire to serve a higher purpose. In modern life, this lesson can be applied by focusing on how we contribute to the well-being of others. Whether through acts of kindness, community service, or simply being present and supportive in our relationships, the act of serving others brings a sense of purpose and fulfillment that material success alone cannot provide. Contributing to others doesn't necessarily mean grand gestures or significant sacrifices. Small acts of kindness, such as listening to a friend in need or volunteering time to a local cause, can have a profound impact on both the giver and the recipient. The Grail's message of service reminds us that we are all connected, and that by helping others, we enrich our own lives as well. By incorporating service into our daily lives, we align ourselves with the Grail's ideal of selflessness and compassion. This focus on contribution not only benefits those around us but also helps us find deeper meaning in our own lives. The satisfaction that comes from knowing we've made a positive difference in the world is a reward far greater than material success. Living a purpose-driven life. The ultimate lesson of the Grail quest is the importance of living a purpose-driven life. The knights who seek the Grail are not just adventurers looking for personal glory. They are pilgrims on a sacred journey, driven by a sense of higher purpose. In the same way, we can approach our own lives with a focus on purpose, on living in alignment with our values and striving for something greater than ourselves. Living a purpose-driven life means making intentional choices that reflect our values and goals. It involves regularly reflecting on our actions and decisions to ensure they are in harmony with the deeper meaning we seek. This might mean reevaluating our career paths, relationships, or daily habits to ensure they contribute to our overall sense of purpose and fulfillment. For many, this involves cultivating practices that foster self-awareness and reflection. Mindfulness, journaling, and meditation are all tools that can help us stay connected to our values and purpose. These practices allow us to pause and consider whether we are living in alignment with our deeper goals or whether we've been distracted by material concerns or societal expectations. By living with purpose, we can find greater satisfaction in both our accomplishments and our daily lives. The Grail's lesson is that purpose is not something we achieve once and for all. It is something we must continually cultivate, refining and adjusting our path as we grow and change. In this way, the Grail quest becomes a lifelong journey of personal growth and fulfillment. Aligning values with the Grail. The Holy Grail offers a powerful framework for understanding the search for meaning in modern life. By aligning our goals with our deeper values, balancing material and spiritual aspirations, and focusing on service to others, we can live more purposeful and fulfilling lives. The Grail quest reminds us that true fulfillment comes not from external success but from living in harmony with our inner ideals, making intentional choices that reflect our values, and contributing to the well-being of those around us. In this way, the Grail becomes not just a distant, mythical object but a guide for navigating the complexities of modern life with purpose and meaning. Chapter 6: Living the Grail, Rituals and Practices for Daily Life. The Holy Grail is a symbol of spiritual aspiration and personal transformation, but its significance extends beyond myth and legend. The Grail's teachings offer practical guidance for living a more intentional, meaningful, and fulfilling life. While the Grail quest may seem distant or abstract, its principles can be brought into our everyday experiences through mindful practices, habits, and rituals. By applying the Grail's ideals to daily life, we can cultivate greater awareness, compassion, and purpose, allowing us to live in alignment with our highest values. In this chapter, we will explore actionable steps for integrating the Grail's wisdom into daily routines, from mindfulness and self-reflection to acts of service and intentional living. The importance of mindfulness in everyday life. One of the central lessons of the Grail is the importance of mindfulness, being fully present and aware in each moment. In the Grail stories, the knights must be attuned to their inner selves, recognizing the difference between distractions that lead them astray and the true path that leads to the Grail. This same mindfulness is essential in our daily lives. By practicing mindfulness, we become more aware of our thoughts, actions, and emotions, allowing us to make more intentional choices that reflect our values. Mindfulness can be cultivated through simple daily practices, such as taking a few moments each morning to focus on the present moment, setting an intention for the day, or practicing deep breathing exercises. These practices help center the mind and create a sense of calm, reducing stress and improving focus. In a world filled with distractions, mindfulness helps us remain focused on what truly matters. It allows us to step back from the noise of everyday life and connect with our inner selves, aligning our actions with our higher purposes. For example, Instead of reacting impulsively to a challenging situation, mindfulness encourages us to pause, reflect, and respond in a way that is thoughtful and aligned with our values. By making mindfulness a daily practice, we bring the Grail's principles into our modern lives, fostering a sense of peace and clarity. Cultivating self-reflection and gratitude. Self-reflection is another key element of the Grail's teachings. Throughout the Grail legends, the Knights must regularly examine their motives, choices, and behaviors, determining whether they are acting in alignment with their higher goals. This practice of self-reflection is essential for personal growth and spiritual development. It allows us to gain insight into our actions, recognize areas for improvement, and make adjustments that bring us closer to living in alignment with our values. A simple yet powerful way to incorporate self-reflection into daily life is through journaling. Taking a few minutes each day to write down thoughts, emotions, and experiences can help clarify our goals and track our progress. By reflecting on the challenges we face, the lessons we've learned, and the areas where we want to grow, we can become more mindful of how our actions align with our deeper aspirations. Gratitude is another important practice closely linked to self-reflection. The Grail quest, with its emphasis on divine grace and spiritual fulfillment, reminds us to appreciate the blessings in our lives. Practicing gratitude helps us shift our focus away from what we lack and toward what we already have, fostering a sense of contentment and peace. A daily gratitude practice can be as simple as listing 3 things you are grateful for each day, whether it's a supportive relationship, good health, or small moments of joy. This practice trains the mind to focus on the positive aspects of life, increasing overall well-being and helping us approach challenges with a more optimistic mindset. Embracing acts of compassion and service. In the Grail stories, the knights who come closest to achieving the Grail are those who demonstrate compassion and selflessness. Acts of kindness, service to others, and the willingness to help those in need are central to the Grail's teachings. Living out the Grail's principles means embracing compassion in our everyday lives and making a conscious effort to contribute to the well-being of others. Compassion can take many forms, from small gestures of kindness, such as offering a listening ear to someone going through a tough time or helping a neighbor with a task, to larger commitments, such as volunteering or supporting charitable causes. These acts of compassion create a ripple effect, not only helping those in need but also fostering a sense of connection and community. They remind us that we are all part of something greater than ourselves. Service doesn't always have to be grand or time-consuming. It can be as simple as holding the door for someone, giving a compliment, or offering support to a friend or family member. The key is to make compassion a daily habit, approaching each interaction with kindness and empathy. Over time, these small acts of service help cultivate a more compassionate mindset, allowing us to live in greater alignment with the Grail's ideals. Living with intention and purpose. The Grail quest is ultimately a journey of purpose, where each knight must align their actions with a higher calling. Similarly, Living with intention means being mindful of the choices we make and ensuring they reflect our values and goals. In a world that often emphasizes productivity and external success, living with intention requires us to pause, reflect, and prioritize what truly matters. One way to live with intention is by setting clear, meaningful goals that are aligned with your values. This might involve reevaluating your career path, relationships, or personal habits to ensure that they are contributing to your overall sense of purpose. For example, if creativity is a core value, setting aside time each week to engage in creative pursuits, whether it's writing, painting, or brainstorming new ideas, can bring greater fulfillment and meaning to your life. Similarly, if relationships and community are important to you, making time to nurture those connections will help align your life with your deeper values. This could mean prioritizing time with family and friends, participating in community activities, or simply being present and attentive in your interactions with others. Living with intention also means being mindful of how you spend your time and energy. In a culture that often glorifies busyness, it's important to reflect on whether your daily activities are truly serving your goals and values or whether they are simply distractions. The Grail quest encourages us to cut through the noise of modern life and focus on what is truly important, helping us live with greater clarity and purpose. Developing rituals for spiritual connection. The Grail's spiritual significance lies in its representation of divine grace and connection with the higher self. In our daily lives, developing rituals that nurture this connection can help us stay grounded, centered, and aligned with our spiritual goals. These rituals don't need to be complex. They can be simple, meaningful practices that bring a sense of peace and connection to our day. Meditation is one such practice that can help cultivate a deeper sense of spiritual awareness. By setting aside time each day to meditate, whether for 5 minutes or an hour, we create space for inner reflection and connection with the divine. Meditation allows us to quiet the mind, reduce stress, and become more attuned to our inner guidance. Other spiritual rituals might include prayer, mindfulness walks in nature, or practicing yoga. These activities help us connect with the present moment, foster inner peace, and create a sense of sacredness in our daily lives. Incorporating these rituals into our routine can help us stay connected to the Grail's message of spiritual fulfillment and remind us of the deeper purpose behind our actions. The power of community and connection. The Grail quest is not a solitary journey. While each knight embarks on an individual quest, they are part of a larger community, the Round Table, united by a shared purpose. Similarly, in our daily lives, community and connection play a vital role in our personal growth and well-being. Building and maintaining a supportive community, whether through family, friends, colleagues, or spiritual groups, provides a sense of belonging and shared purpose. These connections offer encouragement, guidance, and accountability, helping us stay focused on our goals and values. Engaging with community also provides opportunities for service and contribution, reinforcing the Grail's message of compassion and selflessness. whether it's through participating in group activities, joining a local cause, or simply spending time with loved ones. Nurturing these connections helps us live in alignment with the Grail's principles of unity and service. Living the Grail in daily life. The Holy Grail's teachings offer profound wisdom for navigating the complexities of modern life. By incorporating the Grail's principles into our daily routines, through mindfulness, self-reflection, compassion, and intentional living, we can bring greater meaning, purpose, and fulfillment to our lives. The Grail quest is not just a mythic story but a guide for living with integrity, kindness, and spiritual awareness. By practicing these ideals in our everyday actions, we embark on our own personal quest for the Grail, discovering deeper truths about ourselves and the world around us. The timeless quest for the Holy Grail in our lives. The Holy Grail, with its origins steeped in myth, legend, and religious symbolism, remains a profound metaphor for the human quest for meaning, truth, and spiritual fulfillment. Over the course of this book, we have explored how the Grail's rich symbolism can be applied to various aspects of our personal and spiritual lives, offering guidance on how to navigate the challenges and opportunities of modern existence. The Grail's lessons, ranging from self-transformation and ethical living to compassion, service, and mindful awareness, transcend time, offering timeless wisdom for living a more fulfilling and intentional life. In this conclusion, we reflect on the key insights from the Grail's teachings, drawing together the themes explored in previous chapters and offering a cohesive vision for living a life aligned with the Grail's ideals. By embracing the Grail as a guide, we can transform our daily actions, relationships, and goals, cultivating a deeper connection to our inner values and the world around us. The Grail as a symbol of transformation. At its core, the Holy Grail represents a journey of transformation. Throughout history, the Grail has been portrayed not just as a physical object but as a symbol of inner purification, moral integrity, and spiritual enlightenment. The knights who sought the Grail were on a path not only to find a sacred relic but also to transform themselves into more virtuous, enlightened beings. In our own lives, this theme of transformation is just as relevant. We all face challenges, struggles, and moments of doubt, and it is through these trials that we grow, learn, and evolve. The Grail reminds us that transformation is not something that happens passively. It requires active engagement, self-reflection, and the willingness to confront our weaknesses and limitations. The process of transformation often involves overcoming obstacles, both internal and external, that stand in the way of our personal and spiritual growth. Just as the knights faced physical and moral trials on their quest, we too must navigate challenges in our careers, relationships, and personal aspirations. The Grail teaches us that these challenges are not hindrances but essential elements of the journey, shaping us into stronger, more capable individuals. By embracing the Grail's message of transformation, we can approach life's difficulties with a sense of purpose and resilience, knowing that each challenge brings with it an opportunity for growth. Whether we are facing personal setbacks, navigating transitions, or working toward long-term goals, the Grail reminds us that the journey is just as important as the destination. Living with integrity and purpose. One of the key lessons of the Grail is the importance of living with integrity. In the Grail legends, the knights who are most successful in their quest are those who remain true to their values and moral principles, even in the face of temptation or adversity. Sir Galahad, the purest of the knights, embodies this ideal, achieving the Grail not through physical strength or cleverness but through his unwavering commitment to truth, virtue, and service. In modern life, living with integrity means aligning our actions with our core values, even when it is difficult or inconvenient. It requires honesty, accountability, and a commitment to ethical living. The Grail teaches us that success is not measured by external achievements, such as wealth, fame, or status, but by the degree to which we live in accordance with our inner beliefs and values. For many people, this involves setting meaningful goals that reflect their personal values, rather than simply pursuing societal expectations or material rewards. The Grail quest reminds us to ask ourselves what truly matters. Are we living in alignment with our deepest aspirations? Are we making choices that reflect our highest ideals? By regularly reflecting on these questions, we can ensure that our actions and decisions are aligned with a deeper sense of purpose. Living with purpose also means recognizing that our lives have significance beyond our individual desires. The Grail, with its emphasis on service and compassion, encourages us to contribute to the well-being of others and the world around us. Whether through acts of kindness, community involvement, or professional work that helps others, we can live in a way that reflects the Grail's ideal of service to a higher purpose. Balancing material and spiritual fulfillment. One of the central challenges of modern life is finding a balance between material success and spiritual fulfillment. The Grail stories often depict knights who are distracted by personal ambition, earthly pleasures, or material desires, preventing them from attaining the Grail. These stories serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of becoming overly focused on external achievements at the expense of inner growth. In our own lives, it is easy to become consumed by the pursuit of material success, whether it's climbing the corporate ladder, accumulating wealth, or seeking social recognition. While there is nothing inherently wrong with these pursuits, the Grail teaches us that true fulfillment comes from a deeper connection to our spiritual or personal values. Balancing material and spiritual aspirations involves setting priorities that reflect both our external and internal goals. This might mean pursuing a career that aligns with our values, rather than one that is solely focused on financial gain. It could also involve dedicating time to personal growth, reflection, and mindfulness, even as we work toward professional or material success. The Grail's message is clear. Fulfillment is not about choosing between material success and spiritual growth, but about integrating the two. By living in alignment with our values and making time for both personal and professional development, we can achieve a more balanced, harmonious life that reflects the Grail's ideals. the power of compassion and service. The Grail quest also teaches us that true fulfillment comes not from personal gain but from serving others. Many of the knights in the Grail stories are motivated by self-interest, but those who achieve the Grail are often driven by a sense of duty, compassion, and service to others. Sir Galahad's selflessness and humility are what ultimately allow him to attain the Grail, demonstrating that the highest form of success is found in helping others. In our modern world, the Grail's message of compassion and service is more important than ever. We live in a society that often prioritizes individual success over collective well-being. But the Grail reminds us that we are all connected and that our actions have an impact on the lives of others. Practicing compassion in daily life can take many forms, from simple acts of kindness to more significant commitments to community service or charitable work. Whether it's offering support to a friend in need, volunteering for a local cause, or simply being present and attentive in our relationships, acts of service not only benefit others but also bring a deep sense of fulfillment and connection. By incorporating compassion and service into our lives, we align ourselves with the Grail's ideals of selflessness and humility. These values remind us that our personal success is only meaningful if it contributes to the greater good, and that true fulfillment comes from making a positive difference in the lives of others. Applying the Grail's teachings to daily life. The Holy Grail may be a symbol from ancient myth, but its lessons are profoundly relevant to our daily lives. Throughout this book, we have explored practical ways to incorporate the Grail's wisdom into our modern routines, from mindfulness and self-reflection to setting meaningful goals and practicing compassion. The Grail offers a framework for living a more intentional, purposeful life, one that is rooted in integrity, service, and personal growth. Mindfulness, for example, helps us stay present and aware, allowing us to make more conscious choices that reflect our values. Self-reflection helps us assess whether our actions are aligned with our deeper aspirations, while gratitude and service remind us of the importance of compassion and connection. These practices, when integrated into our daily routines, bring the Grail's teachings to life, helping us navigate the complexities of modern existence with greater clarity and purpose. By living the Grail's ideals, we embark on our own personal quest, a journey of growth, transformation, and fulfillment. This quest is not about achieving external success or finding a physical object. It is about discovering the deeper truths within ourselves and living in alignment with those truths. Whether through acts of service, mindful living, or pursuing meaningful goals, the Grail offers a timeless guide for navigating the challenges and opportunities of life. Conclusion: embarking on your own Grail quest. The Holy Grail is not just a mythic object from ancient legend, it is a symbol of the timeless human quest for meaning, truth, and spiritual fulfillment. Its teachings offer a powerful framework for living a more intentional, purposeful life, one that is grounded in integrity, compassion, and personal growth. By embracing the Grail's lessons and applying them to our daily lives, we can embark on our own personal quest for the Grail, discovering deeper fulfillment and connection along the way. The Grail reminds us that life is a journey, and that the challenges we face are opportunities for growth. Whether we are seeking spiritual enlightenment, personal transformation, or a deeper sense of purpose, the Grail's wisdom provides a roadmap for navigating the complexities of modern life with grace and clarity. As we continue on our own paths, may the Grail's teachings inspire us to live with integrity, compassion, and purpose, always striving for the higher ideals that the Grail represents. Copyright 2024 by AudioBooksTube. Thank you for listening. Please consider to subscribe, like, and share to help the channel grow new videos on a daily basis.